To move on, and I mean, you're getting a cavalcade of sort of the best advocates on climate and on energy in this county, and this is an extraordinary county for having such leaders. I'd like to introduce Debra Jacobson. Debra Jacobson is on the Environmental Quality Advisory Council, has been leading a whole variety of climate and energy actions for the Sierra Club, and has really been a leader in showing the data that underlies the passion and the morality of climate change. So, Debra.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate especially the fact that there are several elected officials as well as candidates in the audience, and appreciate their interest. The positive collaboration between the Faith Alliance and the Sierra Club, and I am speaking today on behalf of the Sierra Club, even though I serve as a member of the County Environmental Quality Advisory Council. But anyway, the positive collaboration has been what I would say is a force multiplier, that both of us have been more effective in our organizations by combining efforts. And I want to encourage citizen participation, particularly in the year ahead, because it's an election year, and your voices are going to be heard much more clearly. And so I think this is a year that we can make good progress, and that's why the Great Falls Group did work and just completed a 12-point action plan on energy and climate. I want to speak about the progress to date, and then also this action plan and the three major components. The first major climate and energy initiative also involved the Sierra Club. It was a national Sierra Club effort in 2007 called Cool Counties, and it called for a reduction of 20% of greenhouse gas emissions from 2005 levels by 2020, and then an 80% reduction by 2050. That was reinforced in the environmental vision that the county adopted in 2017. I do want to note, and I didn't put it in the slide, but Doug's talk reminded me of this. The county has made significant progress in the transportation area with the Silver Line and transit-oriented development in the community in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, or at least keeping them stable. The action community-wide really has been much more limited in terms of the building side. In terms of the county operations, the 2008 County Operational Energy Strategy was a first step. It was important because there's more transparency about what the county goals are, but unfortunately those goals were very weak, and as you'll see, we're advocating for strengthening those goals in the coming year. Under development, the county is taking the first major step in the private sector with the commercial property assessed clean energy, and also an RFP for solar power purchase agreements on government buildings. And those two areas are areas that the two groups have worked together quite intensively. The commercial pace, the staff has been directed to draft an ordinance, which is moving along well and will be coming to the Environment Committee on February 12th. And the RFP should be public, I understand, in a few weeks. So then let me turn my attention to the action plan, and I'm going to talk about that in three parts. And the first are community-wide initiatives. The goal on commercial pace is to finalize the program, hire a third-party program administrator. For those of you who don't know about commercial pace, this is a way for property owners of new and existing buildings to finance energy efficiency and renewable energy measures on their property tax bill over a term of 20 years. Typically, if they were working with a bank, they could only get a 5-year loan, and so a lot of things would not be doable. It's been highly successful around the country. It would help with the vacancy rates that are high in the county, so it's very important. The second item and the third item are ones that through my work with the Environmental Quality Advisory Council, the council was, I co-authored with a member from the Mount Vernon District, Larry Zaragoza, the Climate and Energy chapter in the annual report, and that report did recommend the development and implementation of a community-wide energy and climate action plan and resiliency plan. Now, there was in 2012 what was called Chair Boliva's Private Sector Energy Task Force. It actually had a pretty decent report, which is cited in this chapter, but there really was not much follow-through. And as Supervisor Storck said, it's fine to have goals like Cook County's or the environmental vision, but you need a specific action plan to get those goals. Every other county or area, Arlington, Montgomery County, DC, all have developed energy or climate action plans. In fact, all of them are working on their second iteration of those plans. They've met they're moving well on their initial goals. Fairfax has never developed a plan, and this is to address the 97% of emissions which are now from county government operations. Resiliency is important because what we're dealing with is the effects of climate change now. We all know about flooding on the GW Parkway last year. There actually is already action in the county to deal with the sewage treatment plan to prepare for climate change, but there isn't a comprehensive plan. Now, the county is apparently looking at helping to fund a Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments Army Corps of Engineers study about tidal flooding. I think this should be the first priority in terms of the next step, because the county, if it works with the Army Corps of Engineers on that, we get 50% match in projects implemented under that. And then they could move forward from that to develop a comprehensive plan. The fourth item is strengthening county energy and climate organization and staffing. And again, in this capacity for the Environmental Quality Advisory Council, I authored a white paper on best practices in both the public and the private sectors on staffing and organization on energy and climate. I first got involved in this issue in 1981 when I did an oversight when President Reagan wanted to abolish the Federal Energy Management Program, and we learned from the energy manager at Kaiser Aluminum that the best practice was to have a high-level office, to have goals, and to have, a specific training, motivation, and the like. Fairfax, and then in the study we also compared Montgomery County and Arlington County. Montgomery County, for example, has 8 people working on community-wide climate and energy initiatives. Fairfax has 1/2 an FTE. So that's just on staffing. The staff was very cooperative in helping to get data so that we could accurately characterize the programs. This will take, many of these items will take some money. There's some potential sources of money that I'll talk about shortly. Reducing transportation emissions, you've heard about that from our previous speaker, as well as the land development process. So then let me turn to the county operations. Our goal is to complete the RFP and contract in 2019 on solar. This would put solar on rooftops in the county government in a major way for the first time. There's been some smaller arrays, but this would be a very significant number of rooftops. It's my understanding that the schools have not yet given a list of buildings to be put in this RFP, and so I would encourage people on Monday to urge that that be done, because it's going to go out on the street in about 2 weeks, and it's important that the schools be part of that. The county has also been working with the Northern Virginia Regional Commission to convert streetlights to LED streetlights. That's a very important initiative, and the counties have really had to push Dominion to do that because the streetlights are owned by Dominion. I was amazed when I saw that 15% of the electricity used by county government is in streetlights. It's an enormous amount of electricity. Strengthening the county government's energy strategy. The renewable goal was extremely weak. It was decided upon before the power purchase agreement for solar was started, and so that needs to be strengthened, and other aspects of that need to be strengthened. The energy savings performance contracts are a real opportunity to save money that could be used to fund some of these other initiatives. With an energy savings performance contract, an outside contractor puts in money in terms of energy efficiency measures, and the county pays back over a period of time. It doesn't impact the debt, but it's a budget neutral approach. And so those energy savings, right now the county has $4.5 million that they put in for the first year for their operations energy strategy. My view would be that at least some of the $4.5 million in future years could potentially be reduced and used for other purposes by using an energy savings performance contract. There is an approach in the state that you can get free quotes from a number of energy service providers, and I would argue that that is something that is kind of a no-brainer to do, because you would get a lot better feel, and I think that there would probably be more energy efficiency done. You would be able to do more projects. The current plan is focused 80% on lighting, which is really low-hanging fruit, and if you have a much bigger package, you could potentially get much bigger savings. The last two items relate to state and regional action, and I want to thank Supervisor McKay. The first action, we talked with him about an earlier version of this action plan in late 2008, and talked to him about the solar freedom bill that Ivy mentioned, and he took that and ran with it, got the county to support that in their legislative agenda, advocated at VACO, advocated with the Northern Virginia Regional Commission, and that has made a tremendous difference. He also supported the staff spending time to do an economic analysis that shows that $3 to $5 million would be saved over the 25-year life if a solar array was done on the Norton landfill. Without his support, that's a tool that the State Sierra Club is using in Richmond. Without his support, that would not have happened. And then finally, county advocacy is important going forward to next year, when hopefully we'll have a Democratic House of Delegates with hopefully all of your support. Bringing that, we need further broader electric utility regulatory reform. Things like microgrids also have major legislative barriers. That's not being addressed in the current year, because right now there's a Republican legislature, so we're not even sure with the way things are stacked that we can get through the Monis bill. And finally, I'll just mention, the last page just has some resources. There is a link here to the action plan itself, and if people could leave, if that could be left on this, if there's time for questions so people can write that down, and also a link to the Environmental Quality Advisory Council website, so that you can find the white paper that I mentioned, as well as the annual report. And I don't know if there's time for questions, but I'd be happy to answer questions if there is.
So, one or two questions.
You mentioned regulatory reform.
Right.
That includes breaking the link between generating more power and generating more profit.
Yes, part of the most obviously the biggest problem with Dominion is the way they're compensated. The more and they want to produce more power, and also they want to produce it with large capital investments. They have very little incentive to reduce their use or to have customers generating their own electricity. So yes, that would be the gold standard. Whether it's probably going to take a number of years to get there, but yes, that's critical.